On our list of different fundamental testing related documents and things that need to be designed, this time the discussion is about the test cases or documentation of test cases themselves. We have been talking about test cases on several occasions, so it's sensible to see what they actually should define. On our entire model, the test cases are the ones which describe the unary or atomic activities which are tested while using the software or doing quality assurance work and ensuring that all the activities and attributes happen. The test cases are usually related to the test plan or specific subplans, and they are more or less the steps or list of activities which are done to ensure that everything works correctly. On usability test cases, there might be some activities such as the user is able to input their password or in a more technical sense, the systems should say that, for example, the module Ethernet interface should be able to use the Ethernet device or get or manage the internet connection on the system. The test cases, therefore, are actually documents or cases which describe one action, activity, or set of tasks which are needed to test or ensure one quality objective of the product. Based on what type of activity we are doing are the test cases for unit testing or integration testing or system testing or usability testing or whatever. This one test case may be one really simple, almost atomic action, like sending one message to one module and seeing what comes out, or a more sophisticated task to get something done, like logging into a system, searching for one product and placing an order for it. Anyway, the test cases can also be related to one activity and form a test set. On some approaches or some document sources, standardization sources such as ISO IEC 29119, test cases are quite atomic in nature, and the cases are formed into a larger test set, which then gets something more sophisticated done. But do not be fooled by this. Test sets are composed of test cases, and test cases are always describing one action, activity, or set of tasks which are needed to ensure that something happens. So what goes into one test case, or what is documented in test case? Again, we are using a quite informal way of defining what goes into one test case, and on this occasion I have bolded and put more emphasis on the important parts. So, in the most simple test case, there should be information who designed the case, so who knows more about it, the context, how is this case related to system activities, the objective, what should happen or what should be the state which says that this case is happening as expected, what are the inputs needed for this case, what are the outcomes or outputs that should be produced or happen, what are the activities needed to test this case, basically a list of steps, something like user puts their card into the reader, user presses the keypad to give their PIN code and then presses an enter. Step-by-step list of activities. Also, for the testers, for example, what are the environmental requirements? So in what state should be the testing environment be, or what are the things that we expect to be present? For example, that the database is unavailable or that there's no special circumstances or special situations in the system we are using. Also, other things can be added, like which parts of the system are tested with this case. For example, to battle the problem mentioned in the requirements, that this case tests the database. Okay, so if our test environment doesn't have one available, then we can skip this case for this week. Also, where's more information available regarding this case if it's a more complicated set of steps to achieve some higher functionality? Who is allowed to make the decisions on changes or removal of this case, especially if this case is used as a part of regression test set? And also other requirements or dependencies to other test cases, especially if we are using the approach where one test case actually is only really atomic set of steps and several cases are formed into a test set to do some larger testing work. In any case, test case gives a clear set of steps, inputs and outputs to see that something works in the system. When we are done with the case, we put into our report, for example, mark that test case 001 is working, test case 002 failed, and it did this, and so on, so that the developers get information on what works and what doesn't.